When Tesla made their cars, they said they're going to be good. We knew they were. We hoped they would be, but has it actually panned out? It's impossible to know. But fortunately, I've got some professional assistance here from my good buddy Herbert. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Raza.
Hey there, good buddy.
Hey there,
Hey there, good.
10-4,
Hey there, hey there, good
breaka
buddy.
breaka. So I don't know if you've heard, but Tesla set out to make cars and make them pretty well. Has that happened? Do you know? Have you heard anything?
I've heard about a few things. Yeah,
Have you?
best-selling car ever, not just electric vehicles, best-selling car in the world.
Yeah, crazy. And people who don't always like Tesla for whatever reason are starting to wake up to it.
Mhm,
Consumer Reports saying it's the
mhm,
best car. It is the car of the year, which is an unusual honor to give to a company, to a model that isn't new. They like to give these to new models, not existing models. But yeah, it's best car of the year. Does that surprise you at all?
Of course not. Why would that surprise me? Although it does say best electric vehicle
Oh,
of the
best
year.
electric vehicle. Well,
Yeah,
uh-huh. On road test performance, reliability, all those standard things,
it's by a mile.
only
There's
chose
like,
one. No, Consumer
mhm.
Reports only chose one best car EV as a best car of the year winner. Uh,
Oh, I see.
so I think this is the best car of the year overall.
Hmm, hmm.
But that's in the category of electric vehicle. Hmm. Okay, so you're right. So it is just the best electric vehicle. That's less surprising because who makes a better one? You could argue that Lucid's got longer range or higher performance. We've covered in detail why that's not always the most accurate representation of that. Uh,
Take a look at the second line though.
it's the
It's
only
the
pure
only
electric
pure
car.
electric car on Consumer Reports' best car of the year list. So
Neat. It's
it
still a
is.
very
Well,
high honor. I have this car, and it is, without exaggeration, the best car I've ever had. I've owned some very fast cars, and it's faster. I've owned some very comfortable cars, and it's about as comfortable. I've owned some very tech-filled cars, and this blows them out of the water. I've spent thousands of dollars upgrading my stereo in the past, and the stock one is better. So it is a good car. I don't know if people know that. But then we've got other ones. We've got, I don't know if you know this, the Model 3. This is a great thumbnail here, a great lead photo, but uh, is worlds better than the 2019.
yeah.
Now, have you had a chance to check out the new?
I have not. I own a 2020 Tesla Model 3, and I'm just so curious to get into a Model Highland. Yeah, Model 3 Highland.
I went to that event a few weeks back that was held by the Washington Owners Club, and we got to just drive it around the block. And
Hmm.
it is quieter than it has any right to be because you've got that double pane glass all around, that double, not double pane, but laminated glass, double thickness glass all the way around. You've got, and it is softer. It is a smooth ride. The suspension feels as good as my Model Y, better than my Model Y. Uh, and I'm on, the smallest wheels with the biggest tire configuration because I wanted a smooth ride. Uh, and it's a great car. uh, you know, Mr. Leno went ahead and got himself into one to check it out with Lars and Franz, I guess,
Hmm.
and he had a chance to talk with them, find out all the details, and it's got so much added to it. They took a car that was already the best-selling electric sedan and made it better. They added a lot of stuff, but did not add to the price, which is difficult. It's the same car, but better and not vastly more expensive. If it was me, my philosophy on it was that they should absolutely charge more. You and I had this discussion and you said, no, it's going to be the same price, maybe even cheaper. And you were right. So, what do you think of that? You're going to get out and check
Yeah,
one
so
out?
first of all, Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, so first of all, I shouldn't refer to it as Model 3 Highland. It's Model 3, period.
Yeah.
And what the point was when you watched that Jay Leno video is, they really give a lot of attention to try to improve the car in every way that they can, right? 50% of the parts has been replaced. You can see the thinking that they went beyond the safety. They improved the safety, they improved the look, they made it smoother and everything. All of this when they didn't need to, right? They don't, other car manufacturers will just put a slap on a new year, but really it's the same car moving forward. Tesla continues to improve everything that they can because they want to, right? So I want to make that point about the fact that Tesla's cars are considered to be the best cars in the world, whether it's electric or not electric. And you remember that Elon said that, right? He goes, when he started building, decided to get into the electric car business, he realized that it's not about the electric drivetrain or the drivetrain. It's like we need to build a great, amazing car. And so that's really the first principle thinking, isn't it? That's like, how do you make the best car possible, best vehicle possible? Start with that. And if you and you step and you start going backward, well, what makes a good car? All right. What makes a good car would be, I guess, something that you can, when you press the gas, the pedal, when you press the pedal, you have great acceleration. And it turns out that the electric drivetrain gives you that. You don't want to have all these parts that you need to create because that adds to serviceability in the future. It adds to long-term costs. It adds to complexity in building this thing. And it turns out that an electric drivetrain, you don't have all the parts. And you go down the list, right? It's safer when it's got the lower base and a very heavy battery at the bottom. And so you just add up all these things and you realize that actually if you start from first principles and you start to think about building a car from scratch, if there is no cars ever made before, you would go electric. And the funny thing was that's exactly what happened in the early 1900s. The very first cars ever made by Ford and otherwise were all electric. And then they switched to the gas because of, again, the issues with the technology of electricity at that time. But obviously that changed. You know what I mean? Like it always was meant so much to be better to have the electric version versus the gas cars.
Well, so I've had a chance to check out the 1912 Detroit Electric, which is a
Yeah.
fantastic car. The particular one I got to see was it cost 3 times more than a gas car of the same era, but
Yeah.
it was this owner's daily driver for I think 30 or 40 years. And it was you had to service the battery by replacing the water every year or whatever
Oh,
the electrolyte was. There was some electrolyte in it or something that had to be refreshed every year, but it was a very cheap maintenance and the battery stayed for decades because
yeah.
it was very simple. The version I saw had the batteries had been replaced. There's a company in China that makes replicas of these old batteries that work with it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very neat. But you're right. A lot of the things you ask for in a car, I want XYZ better, are built in to the features. They are just automatic. I want it to be safer. Well, guess what? It's automatically safer. I want it to be punchier. That's what EVs do. I want it to be cheaper to operate. We got that. That's already squared away. Now we can just focus on making a car. Everything else, the things that you would expect from any manufacturer, we can make those just a little bit better. Well, it's not that the cabin noise is louder, it's that with a roaring motor, you don't notice the noise. When it's whisper quiet, we got to do something a little better. The insulated glass, the better sound dampening, the use of slightly different materials that are less likely to squeak or rattle. It's all there. Then the question is on quality, because we're talking about these are the best cars. Early complaints about panel gaps and misalignments were not crazy. Some of them were uh, below average, well below average. But as time went on, they've improved. I have a October 23 Fremont build, and there are no panel gaps. There are no misalignments. Everything is straight and as expected. And the complaints haven't stopped, but only from people who've never driven one. And I've seen on social media, you'll see all kinds of liars saying, "Oh, well, I rented, I rent cars all the time, and this, Tesla I drove, they make stuff up because it's the internet and you can do that without consequence.
I sent you a post from Nicholas. Do you want to put that up?
Oh, sure. If I can find
I
it,
sent
put
you a
it.
post. It's amazing. It was good. He just did it this morning. It's funny. He starts off by saying, "We're considering switching from an electric car to a petrol or diesel car. I have some questions to see if it really suits me and my family, and hope someone knowledgeable can help. I've heard that a petrol car cannot be refueled at home, but I have to go to a special place for this. How often do I have to fill up? Is it several times a year? Will there be options for refueling at home? We're used to the car being filled up every morning as sort of by itself.
Wow. I love
Are
this.
there many parts that need to be replaced? The seller said something about oil and filter changes, gearbox, timing belt, and other service. Do you see how many percent degradation you have on the wearing parts, or will they break suddenly?
Wow.
This part here, do I have to often brake with brake pedal, or can I accelerate and brake with the same pedal as in my current car? Do I get gas back into the tank when I brake or go downhill? Do I get gas back into my tank when I brake or go downhill? But this part about the braking, the whole point about right regenerative braking, where as soon as you let go of the pedal, it starts to slow down. It took me a while to get used to that, maybe in first 30 minutes, an hour. But once you realize that this is the way, like this is the way you should be driving, one pedal driving, not this whole foot, brake, and then use the brake and spend all that braking, and I have to replace my brakes every 2 years. It's a big deal.
It is the easiest car I've ever driven. The easiest by far. Do all petrol and diesel cars have much slower acceleration? I test drove one yesterday and it felt like a long time from when I stepped on the pedal until it reacted. Maybe there was something wrong with that car? Well, we now pay 2 cents a mile, but with petrol it'll be 13. Even if the car is cheaper to buy, it'll cost more soon. We drive 15,000 miles a year. We hope that more people will use petrol so that prices will go down. Is there such a trend?
It's
No,
so good.
the opposite. I've understood that petrol and diesel largely consist of oil. Is it true that the extraction process is associated with global environmental problems and widespread wars with absolutely terrible consequences for people, including several world wars and trouble in the last 100 years in which tens of millions of people have died? Is there any solution to that in sight? We don't want to contribute to such crap, do we?
Do it.
Do we? Oh, well, the people saying we need to eliminate subsidies on EVs are forgetting how heavily we subsidize everything,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
oil,
Oil,
with
especially
blood
oil and
and
gas. Yeah,
treasure. Yeah.
yeah.
My son also heard they emit toxic fumes and gases. I've read about air pollution, its impact on respiratory health. Are we contributing to that by switching to a petrol or diesel car? Will these pose risks to our health and the environment? Well, certainly that can't be true. Otherwise, they'd have outlawed them, right? Have more questions, but these are the ones I came up with now. Thanks for your help.
Isn't that
That's
great?
that's great. That is really
It's
great.
like it's your framing. It's your framing of your perspective. And in this case, because we have been using gas cars for 100 years, that's what we think is good and natural and normal. And now we're switching, and why are we switching? And is it better?
It's
It's the other way
yeah,
around, isn't it?
it's crazy. And like we were saying, like you were saying, when you get a first principles design opportunity, and for those who don't know, first principles means go back, just erase everything and start from scratch. What is the best way to build something? And a good first principles example is the Cybertruck. We don't need a truck to be what a truck has been for the last 100 years because this is a different truck. We don't need 5 feet of frunk space if there's no monster V8 under there taking up all that space. It's a neat benefit, I suppose, having a giant cargo area, but are you willing to pay for it? Are you willing to pay for all these inefficiencies that come with it? And so Tesla's doing a great job, not just with the design of the car, but the design of the entire manufacturing philosophy. If you follow Luca Greco, he has shown all the manufacturers around the world who are eager to switch to gigacastings because it has been proved out by Tesla and it works. and it's better. It makes
Throw
it
the Leno.
cheaper, simpler,
Yep.
can be lighter, isn't yet, but will be soon. There are just so many benefits. Guys, in the comments, what do you think? What makes Tesla the best car or the worst car in the world? I get those comments as well. The video is where we get you guys smarter, and the comments is where we get smarter. And Herbert's channel is where you get brighter. So head on over there and see what he's up to. Link in the description. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things. Maybe throw me a buck or two on Patreon or YouTube as a member, or Twitter, X, if you will, as a subscriber. Every bit helps. I appreciate the support. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things. Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.